28th of November 2022. You're welcome back. Action on migration and elections. Action on migration, on elections. More on the migration issue. You're welcome back. I want to play you a video here from Carlingford in County Louth. I want to give you an example of what I'm talking about. Carlingford is a part of Louth that juts out into the Irish Sea up off Dundalk. It's the most beautiful area, full of history and everything else. And they're after landing in 300 migrants into it. I'm going to play you this lady here and just show you an idea of what's going on in the country. Now.
Do you know they're not refugees? I said I don't need to tell you that, but I know they're not refugees. They are part of the UN army that has come in to keep the Irish people in check for what's coming next. Okay? So then I went down. I was told that there was a Sinn Féin councillor getting his hair cut. So down I went, opened the door and I called him out, and he came out to talk to me. He said that he was on the radio and he was talking about it and whatever, and he was trying to find out. Has anybody seen the Sinn Féin councillor here today? No. Does he know why they're here? Does he know who they are?
Nobody knows who they are.
What I want to say is, nobody...
Stand up now, you're telling we're not being able to walk the streets again. Stand up now.
Nobody knows who they are, and we have a right to know who they are.
The boys in 1916 didn't die for this. What happened to two men in Sligo? The two gay men, beheaded, murdered. Wake up. Come on, Ireland. Your children.
We have to do something about this because they're going to continue to walk all over the Irish.
Wake up, Ireland now, today.
Okay? The people in Carlingford are scared. They want to know for their children, for their parents, their older parents. They want to know what's going on. And they have every right to know.
Do these people have visas? Do they have anything?
They don't even have passports. They don't even have passports.
Tomorrow. Yes. Send them over to Green Oak. Get them on the boat.
Here's another thing that causes stir as well. They're going into schools now and they're asking the mothers and fathers, sending letters home, do you want your child to make their first communion? What are they talking about? It's a Catholic country. Is there something wrong with them? Then they're taking statues out of the church saying that we're offending other races. If you don't like our way of living, get on the bus, get on the plane, and get on the boat. You got off.
Ireland belongs to the Irish.
I'm nearly reduced to tears, folks. God, isn't that great? Now, you see, when I warn people about spies and people at meetings, there's a woman. You could trust her all the way. See the other people there. That's what I mean. I do not want the coming uprising by Irish voters to be hijacked by anyone. She's the one to run for election, or at least someone selected by her who is up to the job and who will not turn Turk. I don't see any great action out of Luke Ming Flanagan or any of these fellas, or Mick Wallace, or anyone else. She's the one. Now, the thing about it is that our country is being overrun. This is a dirty plot to destroy our country. This is what Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil and Labour and the Greens and Sinn Féin want. She called out Sinn Féin there for what they're doing. I was 100%. I did not know of that woman, and I did not know her name until I saw her this morning. She's only over 26 miles from where I am. And what I'm saying is, let her run. And I will be giving advice on how to go about running. Now, there are two parties in the thing already, the Irish National Party and the Irish Freedom Party. And I have been somewhat critical. But that doesn't mean I don't support them or would not vote for them. I would. But the thing about it is, they need to get a few people together and do surveys. Do information surveys. All the political parties are at it. Get a couple of young lassies or fellas there and get their questions designed and explain to them they must not influence the people. Give your thing, have your vote. Don't ask them who to vote for. What are the most issues? Find out what are the most issues and what are not. I think maybe putting abortion too high up on the agenda might not be the best idea, because it's amazing how many people I say, well, sure, God, I might have a niece pregnant or something. Look, I know people will fight with me over that, but we have this urgent crisis. We can deal with that later on. By right, the National and the Freedom Party should unite. But, of course, the leaders won't want to give up. Now, I will like to be involved as well. And, in fact, here in Cavan Monaghan, I could possibly get 4,000 votes. I'm well known. But then people may say that was a contrary old devil, and I don't know, don't like the look of him and all that. It's hard to know. But if it goes much further, people would maybe come along, and I'm well known, and I have a track record, and I'm 100% right, and I know the law. I know the civil and the criminal and the environmental law very, very good. And what's more, I have my colleague Pat Swords, who forced the government and the EU to stop the lockdowns through litigation, through legal action, and forced them to pay his expenses. And we have the likes of John Dooley helping, and all that wealth of information is there. So no group should be going it alone. It's the same with the wind farms. They're beginning now to ring me up. I had 3 communities ring me in the last 2 months with wind farm problems, and I was able to help. And every one of them said I was a good help. There's no need to go learning all about this EU law. I know it. We already know it. And the other thing is, there's no need to go convincing each other. You have to convince the people beside you, your neighbours and everybody else. You have to poison the people, because it's the people are going to go into the ballot box and mark their card. And there could be a sea change. We could have to bear in mind that you have to be careful what you wish for. You could actually get it. And as we move to that, we have to have the story right. We don't want extremes. We don't want to be Hitler. We don't want to be weak softies. We want reliable, steady policies. Now, I'm going to soon quit this, but before I do, up until 2004, the Garda Síochána, in every headquarter station, and usually one in every county at least, had an immigration guard. They had 1 or 2 guards whose job it was to vet migrants and to process them in conjunction with what was then a very wise Department of Justice. There was a special section. And anyone that came into the country got their passport stamped and was put on a computer, and they were told to call to the Garda station. And in some places, in one I know, in Cavan, it was on a Monday night. It was on a Monday night between 6 and 10. And they'd come in there and they'd get their process done, and they'd bring in their kids, and the Garda would deal with them. The Garda was specially trained to deal with this, and he did all the documents, and it went up to the superintendent, and at the end of the day, the Department of Justice decided. Some cases, they would actually have to put people on airplanes and send them back. But it wasn't big, because most people wouldn't come here unless there were doctors or whatever. That was the process. Now, it's some faceless person in the EU packs all these over to here in plain loads. And we have a compliant government who will not stand up and are not going to stand up. Do not anymore try to persuade Sinn Féin, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Labour or the Greens. They will not change. And I think part of the reason is they believe these people will vote for them when the local people won't. They'll give them the votes. In America, they're giving the vote to people only in off the migration, only in across the border. So we gotta not make any big mistakes. That's why I belittle or criticise Gemma Doherty. You can't have one person, a figurehead, who won't speak to the rest, no matter who she is or who he is. You can't have that. You can't have people going off taking court cases when there are people well able to advise them on how to go about it, and at least avoid some of the clear pitfalls. You needn't get into a court saying, I don't like this thing here, I don't like this judge, I don't like it. You have to put your case. She should have explained what's her attitude on the 1947 Health Act, and then say why the COVID is different, and explain all that. How well Mr. Soares was able to do it. What she probably didn't know was to have certain documentation before they can impose these measures, and they didn't have them. There you had it, straight away. So with that in mind, folks, I don't know would I run in my area. I might come under if I got a bit of help and a bit of support from County Monaghan. And I am a farmer at the end of the day, and I'm campaigning a long-term energy, and everything I've said has been proven to be right. And we see how the government has put the data centres before the farmers. And you need to be able to argue. And I think you will agree. And I have a lot of faults, I have weaknesses. But when it comes to arguing, as your man Goldsmith said in the poem, even though vanquished, he could argue still. At arguing too, the parson owed his skill, and even at arguing, he could argue still. Even when vanquished, he could argue still. So to be able to fight these, they're afraid of me. There was a meeting down in Offaly 10 years ago where the wind farm weasels was going to come down and explain to the people their great product. And the night before, it was to be on a Tuesday evening, they rang the committee and asked them who was going to be there. And they said Val Martin and Pat Swords. And they withdrew. They'll not even meet me. I went to a pile and pressure meeting in Navan, and I just went up with another man who brought me up for the crack. I knew I wouldn't be listened to. And I decided to have a few half ones when I was in there. And when I got up and went out for my whiskey and came back in, the chairman was there and ordered me out and drove me out of the meeting. There's not many can boast that were driven out of an environmental meeting, even though that I spent 2 days above in the same court in which North East pile and pressure lawyers were arguing more or less the same thing. So that'll tell you, when you begin to get your message right and you know what you're talking about, they're afraid of their living lives. And I would put it to anyone going running, will you please listen to me? I'm not against you. Please listen and please cooperate. And we might just be able to get, if they go on like this, you might get the Irish voters. Remember, in County Louth, you only need a fifth. There's 5 seats. You mightn't even need the fifth. You could get in on the last. You could take the last seat. That lady could take the last seat. But it's vital if she does, that her card is clearly marked and she knows how to say it, what to say it, and when to say it. And the other thing about elections, if you have a dirty one on your opponent, this happened with Sean Gallagher in the presidential elections a way back. RTE decided to bushwhack him. There was something about a cheque which really didn't stand up, about some cheque for €5,000, and he sued after, and I think he got damages. But they held that till he was on the Pat Kenny show 3 nights before the election. And he was there on the panel, and the next thing, they hit him with this when he didn't have any warning. They never said, we're coming out with this. So if you're going to bushwhack your opponent, you do it about the 5th to 6th day. When you come out and you show something, I'm not going to name anyone, there's a current thing going on about politicians and criminals, I'm not going to say that. But if you have something on them, all's fair in love and war, unless it's something to do with maybe a child or something maybe that's on drugs. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go that deep, or a health issue. But if you have them on something they did, and it's going to damage them, you come out with it on the 6th or 5th day before the election. Why? It takes it 1 or 2 days to sink in the public mind. It takes them a day and a half to actually come to grips with it and come up with a response. And you've got to make sure that they don't have time to come up to counter you. You drop your bomb just in time for it to sink in the public mind, for them to prepare a response, but not in time for them to deliver it, because there's a moratorium on electioneering a day before 2 o'clock, the day before the election. So you get them cornered so that it's really the morning of the moratorium at 9 o'clock when they're forced to come out and say, oh, this, that, and the other. You do not throw away your best ammunition. You keep your powder dry when it'll have maximum effect. This is the way my mind works. This is the way you win. That's how you do it. All that's available, and I will help with that, and there are plenty more, only too willing to help, and all of that. And so So it's a pity in a way that I have to link the energy and the migrants, but this is all part of the woke cultural Marxist agenda. This is all part of it. It's all part of it. Ryan was boasting yesterday he's going to get 10%. Unless we can get our act together, he will get 10%, because there'll be no one there to counter him. I met him and Ryan. He didn't stand 2 seconds with me. He had to walk off. He was unable to talk to me at all. He was up in the Chester Beatty Library, and when he'd go out one door, I'd block him. And then he'd go out the other one, and I'd run round, and when he came out the other one, he was blocked. I kept blocking him from getting out. That type of tactics, they cannot deal with that. They cannot deal with the fact. And then they see me as a country farmer. Oh, a country farmer. So what would he know? And that's the case. Keep them thinking you're no good. Keep them thinking you're ignorant. Keep them thinking you will be an easy pushover. There was a German, what was he? One of those wise fellas anyway. And he says, first they resist you, then they argue with you, and next they accept you're right. It's now apparent that I was right on the energy. This is a big plus we have there. We're proven right. Some woman wrote to the Taoiseach yesterday how she fears the winter coming in. This was what I predicted 10 years ago. So, folks, that's my idea. That's the thing. There are protests all over. Let's get it right. Let's not make any mistakes. In actual fact, it's more important in a campaign to make no mistakes than it is to do everything right. One mistake can upset the whole thing. One mistake. Or having someone done as what happened to me one time. This lady, I briefed them on windmills down in the Midlands, and she went up to RT on the Late Late Show and she said, I love the sight of them, they're lovely, but I don't think they should be on my backyard. You see, that's what RT wanted. They got her to say that and they kept me off. Vincent Brown went to each person in Kells, and when he came to me, he jumped across me. They're afraid of my brain and my mind and my mouth. And let's corner them that they can't escape. This is evil, the greatest evil our country ever faced. Far worse than anything the Vikings did, far worse than the Normans who integrated with us, and far worse than anything the British did. Maybe not as bad as the famine yet, but it will be as bad as the Great Famine. This is a complete and utter disaster. Let's get it right. A lady in Offaly told me recently, when we saw you coming first, we thought you were some kind of a crank. We were very, very wary of you. It took a long time to realise that you were actually the right person in the right position. I have no reason to want to become involved in politics. I am happily running my farm and doing everything. My life has worked out lovely. And I don't want this, but if I have to, I will. And let's see how it goes. Folks, thank you. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. We'll see you back for something else. I can't help just the way that lady, the way that community in Carlingford put it, the way the corner Sinn Féin, the very way I'm saying, the way they put it. You'll get it there online and it's really worth looking at, or go back to the beginning of the video again. That lady can be relied on, and those people can be relied on. And the shysters, and there'll be people trying to muscle in on them. And we look after this for you. Pay no heed to them. They're only frauds. See you back, folks. Thank you.